BBC Radio
6 Music.
You are now entering a parallel universe.
And wipe your feet on the way in.
Mark Riley, BBC 6 Music.
Easy to forget just how big, let's say massive, Slade were in the early to mid-70s, but there you go, that is my friend Stan, my friend Rob. Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you kindly. Good. So where are we?
Well, we're in the... we'll look at the NME here, 3rd of November 1973. Heard Slade in the news. Mott the Hoople return next week from their 6-week tour of America, where their Mott album has already notched 200,000 sales to prepare for their British concert series opening in November. Promoter Mel Bush reports phenomenal interest in their upcoming UK schedule and adds, judging by this reaction, they'll be as big as Bowie or Slade within 6 months. The tour ends at Hammersmith Odeon in December. The band then take a break over Christmas. They're then going to devote the whole of January to recording a new album and the entire month of February to a major European tour. Then they're scheduled to return to America, followed by concerts in Japan and Australia. So it's all go for Mott, isn't it? This is obviously, it's late 73. Not long, well, maybe a year or so after this, Ian Hunter just decided, look, I've had enough of all this, really. And you can kind of see it, can't you? Suddenly, they've been plugging away for years and years. Suddenly, they're huge. Everybody wants a piece of them. And it's all or nothing.
I think there's slightly more to it than that from what I can gather, because that was a tour that I went to see, and of course, for a time machine for a lot of people, not. But Queen opening and Mott the Hoople headlining. And it was a fantastic gig, the first gig to go to. But also, there was some trouble within the band, and so Ariel Bender had left. Of course, he came back for that reunion tour and came and sat here, as you know, with Ian Hunter and Morgan Fisher. And so then Mick Ronson joined, did he not?
He did.
And then the story is that some members of the band got a little bit jealous because the main man organisation, who managed Bowie and Mick Ronson and Mott the Hoople, sort of, only a little bit, but they didn't like the kind of star treatment that Mick Ronson was getting, and it caused bad feeling. And then, of course, we're going to do a tour together. I had tickets at the Palace on the 4th row or something like that. I was so excited for it, and then it all got cancelled, and then they split up. But I think that the tour was cancelled on paper, at least, because Ian Hunter wasn't well. But I think that the Mick Ronson kind of, because obviously they went off and did the Hunter Ronson band after that, didn't they?
Yeah.
So
of course.
I think that was a kind of some friction in there because of that.
Yeah, definitely. Also, I imagine as well that for a long time, especially around this time, 73, there would have been somebody constantly in Ian Hunter's ear saying, look, you're the star of this thing, you need to go solo. And just that usual thing, that kind of divisiveness that can come from any quarter, I suppose, can't it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I did go and see the band Mott, as they turned into, afterwards. And without Ian Hunter, it really was a non-starter. Sorry to anybody who participated in that particular lineup, but he just wasn't great,
Yeah, of course. Also in the news, Pink Floyd and Soft Machine appear in 2 concerts at the Rainbow in London this Sunday, 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. The first time the two bands have performed together for over 5 years. This last-minute event has been promoted by Floyd themselves, and all proceeds will be donated to the Robert Wyatt Benefit Fund. Wyatt is the ex-Soft Machine and Matthew Mole drummer who was seriously injured in an accident earlier this year, is now paralysed from the waist down. Floyd will be playing their hit album Dark Side of the Moon at these shows. Tickets range from £1 to £5.
That really is a time machine job for me, I tell you.
Oh, definitely. And next to that, the sensational Alex Harvey Band set out on an extensive British tour next week. The itinerary comprises over 30 dates and is by far their most important to date. They'll be headlining throughout, and support act, I've never heard of these, will be Beckett. So 73 was a year it really started to take off for them, because we started off with Slade, didn't we? They were supporting Slade. And you imagine, you're launching sensational Alex Harvey Band to a Slade audience. There's nothing they're not going to love.
Well, I think the sensational Alex Harvey Band opened for Slade and Status Quo, both of whom had a quite leery audience, and so would have been absolutely perfect for Saab, as they call them.
And also, I think they played Reading, hadn't they, in 73, and they really stole the show there.
Yeah,
totally.
Amazing live.
Dutch band Focus, meanwhile, at a tour Britain early in the new year. It'll be their first with new drummer Colin Allen, who's replaced Pierre van der Linden in the lineup. Van der Linden has been threatening to leave the group for some time because he was unhappy with their change in musical style. Focus leader Jan Ackerman, with whom der Linden has played for 12 years, refused to take the drummer back into the group when 2 days later he changed his mind about quitting. Said Ackerman, I feel insulted. A little bit harsh. I mean, people make these sort of impetuous decisions, don't they, and then beg to come back a few days later.
Yeah, it doesn't sound completely unreasonable, does it? Particularly for a drummer. I'm only joking.
Oh, I know what you're saying. Also, Focus leader, I mean, Ties van Leer would have had something to say about that. I'm not sure if Ackerman was the de facto leader of that band. It was a bit of a two-way struggle, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, there was, of those two, I would imagine there was neither were leader, because Jan Ackerman, an incredible guitarist, and unless we forget, Sylvia is like in the best 3 instrumentals ever, and I won't apart from movie soundtracks perhaps, and I won't even argue about that, Bob.
No, mate, I'm not even going to argue with you either.
Good.
On the Thrills page, what do you do when you've done it all? You've been interviewed countless times, had your every move analysed by the music press, made innumerable records, done gigs. You are a legend. Any rock stars currently finding themselves in this situation could do worse than take a leaf out of the book of ex-Love Supremo Arthur Lee, who's currently living wild in a state of nature boy bliss in the woods outside of LA. We've been informed that staff of a certain British rock monthly have already set off on a heroic quest to find him. I'm sure he was thrilled at that news. I mean, he'd gone solo,
approach with caution, sorry, mate.
I was just going to say, he'd gone solo, hadn't he? I mean, he was really kind of struggling really for an audience. I mean, the Love audience, not sure how big it was even back in the day, but they just became legends very much after the fact.
I think they did pretty well, but the last Love album was a different lineup, wasn't it? And was a bit shoddy, and so in free fall, and a quirky character, put it that way.
Yes,
genius, but quirky.
Definitely a genius. On the new singles front, review by Charlie Gillett here. Loads of soul, as you might imagine. And let's see, he's got Jimmy Cliff's fundamentally reggae. So a very sophisticated, pull it apart and put it back together look at what reggae is, has been and will be. If you've been hesitating over Jimmy's new LP, Unlimited, get it. It's a grower, he says.
Right, OK, well, we should play it, shouldn't we?
We should play it.
Excellent.
I know you love music. I know you like sound. Some people like rhythm. Well, just stick around. This is the music for all who love beat, to suit their nature and move every feet. This is fundamental reggae, fundamental reggae, fundamental reggae. Oh, we'll take it with you all the way. It's got some calypso, just Latin rock afro, a classical notion to still your emotion. So gather round, children, tell mommy and papi you found the solution to make everyone happy. Dig it, fundamental reggae, fundamental reggae, fundamental reggae. Mama, won't you take it with you all the way? Dig it. This is fundamental reggae, fundamental reggae, fundamental reggae. Oh, take it with you all the way. Know you love music. Know you like sound. Some people like rhythm. Well, just stick around. This is the music for all who love beat. It's got some calypso, just Latin rock afro. This is fundamental reggae, fundamental reggae, fundamental reggae. Oh, take it with you all the way. Dig it, fundamental reggae, fundamental reggae, fundamental reggae.
Jimmy Cliff and Fundamental Reggae, Mark Riley in Salford, whilst in Yorkshire. I only say Yorkshire, Bob, because I don't want to tell people which town you're in, Beverly, because they might doorstep you and paparazzi and all that. So no need for it.
No, really, that could easily happen.
Yeah.
Look at the NME here, 3rd of November 1973. The Osmonds, Charles Sharmarie goes to see them at the Rainbow in London in front of 3,000 screaming fans. He says inside the theatre, the population is almost exclusively female and under 16. The exceptions seem to be parents and journalists. It appears that what's making the Osmonds happen is their value as adored objects. With most bands, including T-Rex, Slade, Bowie and The Sweet, the interest starts from the music and spreads outwards to encompass the personalities and appearance of the people who make it. With the Osmonds, the process is reversed. Their fans fell in love with their pretty faces. Suddenly, he says, the lights come up and the Osmonds are slugging their way through Crazy Horses while clouds of dry ice billow from behind the amps. In general, their musical ability is roughly equivalent to a very superior youth club group. The best instrumentalist is Merrill, who's about up to the standard of an average marquee support band guitarist. Is that a predictable tone, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if they actually played on the records, then it seems grossly unfair. But did they? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did, actually.
Right. I mean, they got the break on the Andy Williams show, didn't they, in America?
They did. They did, absolutely. I was wondering if they were the original boy band, and I did some research before, and a lot of people had suggested that the Beatles were the first boy band, and it just depends what your definition is of that. Just blokes in a band with no females, it's a boy band, isn't it?
Yeah, pick the bones out of that. That doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Ian MacDonald talks about Faust here. As the current Faust tour of Britain rambles erratically to a conclusion, one has to own up that Faust breed confusion and controversy wherever they go. But that's only natural because they thrive on not knowing what they're doing in the first place. Thus, their recent appearance at London's Rainbow started out strongly, striding swiftly through the areas that Faust had previously explored. Then, after about a quarter of an hour, the general consensus appeared to be that they needed more sandwiches or graph paper or whatever, and the characteristic Faustian sit-down ensued subdued. However, a rock audience at the very least wants to enjoy itself. In any case, even the frontrunners of the avant-garde owe some responsibility to coherence and communication. This is what... Go on.
No, sorry, mate, but I mean, I played the Rainbow. I was lucky enough to play the Rainbow, and being like, a Bowie fan, and all of the great gigs that I'd seen having taken place from there from afar, I just got a buzz from playing it. But it's a big old unit. I would imagine it held around about 2,500 to 3,000. It's kind of a Manchester Apollo-sized venue.
Yeah.
But the thought of Faust playing to that many people, because they are very were very obtuse and difficult, and avant-garde was the phrase that was used there. Quite amazing to think that these all those people crammed into that space to watch them do that. I mean, I'm not saying they shouldn't be there. It's amazing.
Yeah, remarkable. Probably, I'm guessing, because they sold, was it Faust 3, I think, that Virgin picked up and sold it for a really cheap price, and it's the price of a single, I think. So they became chart stars, almost by accident, really.
It was like Gong, wasn't it? Everybody always talks about Camembert Electrique being 59 pence or whatever it was.
Yeah, but that was the stage show. So I was chatting to the guys from Faust maybe a couple of years ago now, and they were talking about how they really didn't have, it was all about whatever they felt in the moment. So there was no kind of planning. It was all, this is what we want to do. And on stage, sometimes if they just got a bit bored, they'd wander off, or somebody would come in with a TV set, put the telly on, and the audience watch Coronation Street or whatever was on telly at the time.
I remember going to see The Fall do the band. I might have been one of the shows that I played actually with them, but it would have been 1979, probably, whatever. And there was a guy making a pot of tea. That was the act, and you have to think that maybe there was a bit of Faust going on within there somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. Jean Hervé Perron says, we're not avant-garde at all. We're just trying to be, we're not even trying to be ahead of our time. We're just trying to be in it. He says, we simply try to reflect our group dynamism. We're very confused people. We've lived in a very confused situation since the group started. You see, we've been clustered away at Vummy, put outside the world for 2 years, and then the tours have also been very strange and very confusing. So Vummy was like this village, wasn't it, in the middle of nowhere, the German countryside. Was it? And they just lived there, and there was a studio in one room. They'd mocked up a studio, and whenever they felt like going in there, they'd just go in and make a racket and come back out.
It seemed to be what the German bands were doing, because like Noi had their own place, didn't they, and Cannes.
Yes.
And, and obviously Connie Plank, but also,
Yeah, definitely a thing. Also, well, not even in the charts. Faust aren't in the charts at this minute, but Nazareth.
This Flight Tonight.
Indeed.
Wasn't the one that you gave to me that night down south between the trailer, not the early one that you wish upon, not the northern one that guides in the sailors. You've got that touch so gentle and sweet, but you've got that look so critical. Can't talk to you, babe, you know I get so weak. Sometimes I think that life is just mythical. Up there's a heaven, down there's a town. Blackness everywhere and let a light shine. Blackness, blackness, dragging me down. Come on out of kennel in this heart of mine. Starlight, starlight, you got the loving that I like. Turn this crazy body round. Should not have got on this flight tonight.
Nazareth do Joni Mitchell, This Flight Tonight, and I'm Mark Riley, and that is Bob Hughes.
Indeed. We're looking at the NME here, 3rd of November 1973. On the album front, we were talking about Faust, weren't we? Ian MacDonald takes a listen to Tony Conrad's Outside the Dream Syndicate, which consists, he says, of 2 long improvisations recorded in Germany last year with Faust. Conrad here produces music of such starkness, skeletal in both structure and texture, virtually neutral in emotional import. In a way, this record is beyond liking or disliking, it's just there. I think they used that as promotional sticker, didn't they, on the album? Pretty sure they did.
Slightly long-winded, but I'd buy it.
I would.
Tony Conrad did work with Don Cale, didn't he?
He did, yeah, famously. Lamont Young as well. Album review front, you got Roxy Music Stranded, which Ian MacDonald said, a classic, he says, the album of the year, no doubt. Gigs this week, you got PFM at Plymouth Pier Pavilion. That must have been something to see, PFM.
Yeah, I'd love to have seen them, yeah, bonkers.
Brinsley Schwartz at the Firebird Club in Birmingham, incredible string band at the Rainbow, Rory Gallagher at Manchester Free Trade Hall, Screaming Lord Sutch at West Park Ballroom in St Helier in Jersey, Edgar Broughton at York University, Roxy Music at Edinburgh Empire, Neil Young and Crazy Horse supported by the Eagles at Manchester Palace.
Right.
Sweet at Glasgow Apollo, Pink Floyd and Soft Machine we've heard at the Rainbow, Gong and Kevin Coyne at Wolverhampton Civic Hall, you've got Pink Fairies at Barnsley Civic Hall, Amondoul, Leeds Poly, Bob Marley at the Whalers at Blackpool Locarno. Wow.
Nice.
Remarkable. Tony Tyler reviews Roxy Music at Manchester, said they're a great band now that Eddie Jobson is in on violin and keyboards. We've discussed this before. I lost a bit of that flamboyance, didn't they? But they gained musical brilliance, I suppose.
Yeah, that was one of the gigs that I just missed out on, you know. So I missed out on Bowie in the June playing the Free Trade Hall, and also Lou Reed doing Berlin at the Palace Theatre and Roxy Music at the Free Trade Hall. They were the 3 that I was kind of like desperate to go to but couldn't, and then I eventually got my got my wings off my parents and went to the aforementioned Mott the Hoople in late November.
Right, okay. Tony Tyler, I don't want to wee on your bonfire, but Tony Tyler does say Free Trade Hall in Manchester, I've never seen the band go down as well as they did with any audience before. It was just an amazing performance.
Yeah.
Ian MacDonald goes to see King Crimson at the Rainbow. It's a strange one because he approaches it in a very sort of almost like a lab technician kind of a viewing aspect. Doesn't mention any of the band members, says it's all a bit too serious for him, there's not enough humour in it, even though, and he doesn't even name Robert Fripp, even though he says the guitarist often speaks to the crowd and gets them in fits of giggles, but and he doesn't seem to enjoy it. But you think that is the band. To think it's Fripp, Bill Bruford, John Wetton, David Cross, amazing band in themselves. They did Lark's Tongues, but a year later David Cross wasn't with them, but they did Red. That is that immense trio. That is
that's the era that I wished I'd seen, or that is the album I wished I'd seen anyway, most certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're not going to play King Crimson because we haven't got time.
We haven't. We're going to play Ike and Tina Turner with Nutbush City Limits. I need to say thanks to you, Bobert, very much indeed, to Shona Knife, who made the effort and pre-recorded for us, and Michelle and Perfect Peter and Lewis, and Gid is next. And we'll see you tomorrow night with Aldous Harding live in session. All right, cheers all. See you. Bye-bye.
Prepare to exit the parallel universe.
Mark Riley, BBC Six Music.
And shut the door on your way out.
Six